Biggest builders now can give you 20% towards your deposit, interest free for 5 years. Couple that with part exchange and many other things that builders can give. So really the builders now can't build enough property in Chester, Cheshire and North Wales. About a month ago, our Prime Minister very hurriedly decided Help to Buy 2 was going to come out early, which everybody thought would be a great thing. The problem was the banks hadn't really been told about it. So Help to Buy 2 is a scheme for second-hand homes, which is going to be helpful to likes of ourselves. And you can apply for it now, but you can't have any money until next year. The only banks which can help you at the moment are the state-owned banks, who aren't really in place to help much yet. I don't think many advisors around to help. Really nothing has changed, other than lots and lots of optimism. People feel that the housing market is going to increase next year on the back of Help to Buy, and I agree with them. I think the biggest problem in Chester is going to be shortage of supply. I think prices will rise, sometimes falsely, as everybody gets a bit carried away. They'll be overpricing, which ourselves and Matthews never do, but unfortunately other agents sometimes do to get the business. Next year, I was reading a report earlier about how house prices are meant to rise next year. Does anybody know what they think house prices are going to do next year? Rise, fall, stay the same? They're going to rise by 7%, so we're told by Knights in London. And that's half the problem, is the market is driven by the media is based in London. London, as I'm told by people who work down there, is absolutely mental. You're selling houses in hours rather than days. And things, every sale seems to be an asking price or a highest and best battle where they've got more than one buyers and it's an auction. Next year, hopefully Chester won't be quite like that, but I do suspect it's going to be a very busy year, as all those people who are trapped in rented accommodation, who haven't had a deposit, who can afford a mortgage, they're going to go out and hopefully buy our properties, and if they can't buy our properties, buy some properties off Matthews. So I keep picking you up here. However, I think there are pitfalls in place. There's going to be a lot of building that's going to happen in Chester over the coming years, and I think that's going to help with the supply issues and maybe put a handle down on house price growth. Now, has anybody got any questions for me about estate agency houses? I probably won't be able to answer them, but ask away.
Can I just ask about these predictions on rises for the next year? I've seen some reports that say that across the country it varies obviously from region to region. And yes, London maybe 7%, and maybe another county is 5%. Normally, the northwest is actually marked down, not quite as bad as the northeast, but only 2.5%. Do you think Chester books that trend?
Definitely.
And if so, by how much?
The figure at this stage I would say would be a bit of a guesstimate, but I would say Chester definitely stands out as an oasis in the northwest. There's other areas like South Manchester. I would say Chester would be more likely to be 5% in terms of growth next year, rather than 7.5%. But if you go down to the road to perhaps Wrexham, where we've had a branch before now, I suspect Wrexham is much more like the national average. Prices, they'll be lucky to be rising by more than a couple of percent in Wrexham. There's still lots and lots of the same type of property in Wrexham, terraced houses, which were sold at a very high price in 2006-2007, which they're still in negative equity. But I think Chester's a standalone. It's got different types of industry. We've got the tourist industry. And I think even at its worst in Chester, a lot of people were telling me how bad things were going to get. And there wasn't many repossessions. You know, I would say a very small amount of our stock accounted for repossessions, even in 2009 when things were at their very worst. So I think if you go to a place like Wrexham, we also do auction work, so we went to a place like Runcorn, Widnes, 2 or 3 years ago. You know, we were selling terraces at auction for 20,000 or 30,000 in Runcorn. You know, the equivalent in Chester would be a minimum of 120. So there's a massive difference in region to region.